Now, amid public condemnation of the Green support for Whitehaven hoaxer Jonathan Moreland, who we spoke to a couple of days ago, it's come to light today that the Greens use social media as an insurgency tool to force themselves onto the news agenda. The Greens digital communications coordinator David Paris confirmed to the Fin Review that the party encouraged its 9 senators and 1 House of Reps member to be themselves on social media. He admitted there was no process for them clearing and they can say what they want. If it kicks up a great discussion, I think that's a good thing. Well, it certainly kicked up a great discussion, none of it positive. Senior Labor MP Joel Fitzgibbon has called for a review of thresholds under which share trades can be cancelled, and he's joined other MPs, most I think at this stage coalition MPs, in condemning the Greens' endorsement of this fella, Jonathan Moreland, to talk about what he thinks we should do, and particularly given the fact that Joel is a member for the federal seat known as Hunter, which is obviously in the heart of the Hunter Valley, and coal mining is very important in that part of Australia. I thought it would be very interesting to get his take on that and perhaps 1 or 2 other issues in the news today. And he joins me on the line. Joel Fitzgibbon, good to talk to you again.
Happy New Year, Luke.
And to you. This bloke is a clown, that's Jonathan Moreland. I don't think we disagree on that. What was most disturbing, I think, as a commentator to me, Joel, was the way the Greens so readily lined up behind this bloke and basically suggested he might be some sort of hero. What's your take on the actions of, or the alleged actions, I probably should say, of Jonathan Moreland?
Well, they were bestowing martyrdom on him, invoking Gandhi and others in previous times. And, of course, that is just ridiculous. What this guy did was absolutely reckless. He did it for all of the wrong reasons. And you know, Luke, we're assuming that because the share price bounced back up, that no one was damaged by this series of events. But, of course, when the share price drops 9% and quickly makes its way back up to its original level, it doesn't mean that the same people are holding the shares. Now, some people might have got out when it dropped 5.
Yeah, good point.
Never got back into the system. So people, mum and dad shareholders, have been financially disadvantaged by his reckless actions. And my simple view is that we need to throw every legal avenue we have available to us at him to act as a disincentive and a deterrence to those who might be contemplating similar acts in the future.
And, Joel, don't you agree, mate? They have to act quickly. I mean, we've got this real live case now, and we've got a real live result. This guy, given his actions, which he's admitted to, given those actions, he did have an impact on this independent stock market that we rely on so importantly in Australia. We can't have this happen again because they were slow to act. I would have liked to have seen action before now. I guess they've got to wait to find out what evidence they've got, but nonetheless, if we need you to act, that is the government, to introduce new laws or whatever it might be, can we be assured that you'll get to it early in the new year?
Well, he's not only admitted to the act, he's boasted about the success of the act, which should be of concern to all of us, because that can have an impression on others that might be contemplating similar exercises. But I think this does call for a review of a range of legal frameworks, because we are living in very different times. I've not been able to determine how long, for example, that threshold has been in place. I believe in a threshold. I think it's important for market predictability and stability, but is it at the right level? I just don't know, and I think the experts should take a look. Whether the corporations law is sufficiently strong. I mean, once upon a time it would have been very difficult for what I would describe a non-player in the market to have such influence over the market. And under the market manipulation provisions of the Act, there are certain rules for those who, if you like, play in the market, are players, stockbrokers, stockholders, etc., people who might stand to benefit or not benefit out of a particular action. And other rules are less onerous rules for those who are not. Now, this guy is not a player in the market as far as we know, so he doesn't face very stiff penalties, but maybe that's another area where we need to take a look. And how do we know, Luke? How do we know with any great certainty that this guy is not just an environmental extremist, but rather, he didn't have a mate down the road buying and selling at just the right time? Now, I'm not making that accusation, of course, but if that's not the case in these circumstances, it might possibly be so if someone contemplates the same sort of act in the future.
Yeah, very well said. I agree 100%. You're right. You wouldn't know. Now, on to Bronwyn Bishop today and this notion optional preferential voting. I'm quite happy with the way we vote in New South Wales. I know they do in Queensland with optional preferential voting, but I'm very uncomfortable seeing a headline that basically asserts one of the reasons why a coalition government might do it is to give them a better chance at the ballot box. Now, to be fair, they said that about the state governments, both Labor in New South Wales and Queensland, that was one of their motivators when there was a keen competition between those coalition partners. But surely, if we're going to change the voting system, we change it because it's going to improve the accuracy of the count and make it easier for people to vote. What's your take on that?
Well, my take is an old one. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Bronwyn Bishop's problem, of course, is that she believes that it's only those on the northern suburbs of Sydney or on the peninsula, out Manly Way, who are sufficiently intelligent and sufficiently well educated to vote. That's Bronwyn Bishop's view of the world, and she wants to do all she can to deny the votes of others that are not her political persuasion. It's as simple as that, and she's been pinged for it, rightfully so.
All right. What did you make of the idea that, given your words there, when the Prime Minister and the government put forward this notion that when you're 18, rather than do the responsible thing, go forward and register to vote, we'll just make sure you're signed up. Were you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I was, because I've got 3 kids in their early 20s now.
In their early 20s, Joel?
Yeah, I'm getting older.
Geez, you look young though, mate.
No teenagers left. And I'd like to think they're all pretty intelligent kids. They follow their mother's dream pattern. And I know how disorganised they are, and how, I suppose, even my kids, they're engaged, I think, more politically than others, but they're busy kids with other priorities, and I don't see any harm in making sure they're given every opportunity to exercise their democratic right, and I think that's all the government did last year.
Okay. Now, one of your colleagues, Doug Cameron, amongst others, is suggesting that perhaps we should look at increasing the dole. What's your take on that, particularly given what Jenny Macklin said a week or two back?
Well, my general view is that this idea of just increasing the dole across the board is the lazy policy approach. I think we're asking the wrong question. I think with unemployment at historic lows, we should be asking, how do we take this once-in-a-generation opportunity to break the welfare cycle? And my view is that we shouldn't treat all unemployed people the same. Some will find it more difficult to get into the labour market than others, some because of very poor parenting or a very poor school education, some because of a physical or other disability, some because of geographic location. I was reading this morning that in Tasmania, there are 8 people vying for every job vacancy. Now, in the Hunter Valley, that figure will be so much different. So I say stop treating all unemployed people the same. Let's deal with them on a case-by-case basis. Let's leave the dole where it is as a safety net, but put additional financing and resources into those who do need a leg up. And look, that might even cost more than increasing the dole across the board, but at least it will produce a result and hopefully break that cycle of welfare dependence.
The other side of that, in my own personal view, Joel, is that now that the Treasurer has relaxed a little with his objective of getting the budget back into surplus this year, surely that's not an excuse just to write wow, now we can go and increase the dole and do all these other things. I think given people like, just like us, regular people that have mortgages and whatever, would like to see the government practice some of the disciplines we have to practice to live our everyday lives, like paying down debt and the like. Isn't that a fair conclusion to draw?
I believe that's absolutely true. We have to get the balance right. We have to loosen the fiscal policy when the economy demands it and tighten it otherwise. And, the proposal by the Greens in particular is to tax those people who have a go more heavily so that we can encourage people to remain on welfare. Well, I just think that's a very, very dumb policy approach.
Yeah. Final question. Should Brendan O'Connor use his Twitter account again?
Look, I've spoken to Brendan. He's acknowledged the mistake. He's apologised for it, and I think you can be pretty sure he'll think not twice but 3 times before hitting that tweet button.
Yeah.
As we all should, Luke.
Indeed. Always good to chat. Thank you, Joel.
That's a pleasure.
Good on you. Joel Fitzgibbon there, member for Hunter.